On this episode of Wine Hops and Road Stops, we head to Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer, where Kevin shows us the best Belgian beers to bring to your holiday party. Alan at the beer stop discusses wet hops, dry hops, and his favorite holiday beers. A beer company gets into video games, and what triple actually means. So grab a drink and settle in for Wine, Hops, and Road Stops coming up next. Right now, we're back at Krugel's Georgetown Deli and Beer here in Wilkes-Barre Township, right next to the Big Cow. I'm with Kevin. Kevin, how are you doing today?
Hey, Jeff. I'm great.
It's almost time for the holidays.
Yep.
Thanksgiving's coming up. Christmas is coming up. What are we talking about today?
Well, it's big dinner season, right? Whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or a get-together with friends, it's big dinner season.
It's time to party with your buddies and your family.
Yeah. So everybody wants to know what beer to bring.
You don't bring a domestic.
No. This isn't the time for a box of Twisted Tea.
No. What are we going to bring?
So let's look at some of the best beers that you can bring to a party, and really, it boils down to basically Belgians. Now, the Belgian style is going to be one of your best styles, a very wide appeal. A lot of people like these beers, and really the category includes literally some of the best beers in the world.
Now, let's just say this is me going out of my comfort zone. Because everyone knows me as the ale guy, the IPA guy. Yeah. I really don't have a lot of knowledge of Belgian beer. So, first of all, tell me about the history of the Belgian beer.
Well, okay, so the beer has been brewed in Belgium for 1,000 years,
sure.
Right? And it's primarily been done by the monks. Now, why do monks brew beer?
I don't know. They're bored?
One of the major tenets of being a monk is you consume what you produce.
Okay.
Beer is one of the more valuable things that they can make, and the abbey needs money.
Right.
So they sell the beer to support the abbey, and if you're buying specifically monk brewed beer, that also goes to charitable organizations too.
Tell me about the Trappist monks, because that's a big thing in the beer world, is having that label.
Yeah. A Trappist monk has to be at least part of the brewing process somewhere. The Trappists are an offshoot of the Benedictine monks. Call them refugees of the French Revolution.
Okay.
The Belgian beer really has its roots in France.
Like all good stories, it always starts with a revolution, right?
The French Revolution.
Okay, go ahead.
So refugees of the French Revolution, they brought their brewing styles to Belgium, and they kind of had a monopoly on brewing beer. Beer had to be brewed by monks. About 1861 is when they started selling the beer, and it's just kind of evolved since then.
So we're going to try some beers that you should bring to your holiday party this year. Okay, let's get started.
All right.
Okay, first beer we have is a Belgian ale. You said it's pretty common. It's a pretty common beer.
Yeah, this is one that I see coming out of the store a whole lot more than most of the others.
But it's a mix of two different things.
Yep. This is a mix of Castile's Belgian Double, which would like be a dark, strong also, and cherry liqueur.
Okay, and we have to mention the glassware before we try these beers. Tell me about this glassware.
A proper Belgian beer needs to be served from a proper Belgian glass. Now, we don't have the proper glass for Castile, but we do have our snifters here brought to us by Yingling Hershey's Porter.
First thing,
wow. Cherry right off the bat.
Huge
all cherry
note.
all day.
Wow. Well, might as well. Here we go. There's a lot of cherry in that.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Almost like a cherry soda.
I am definitely out of my comfort zone with this. I'm not saying it's bad. This would probably be a one and done for me because of the amount of cherry.
I would call this an after dinner beer.
Yeah.
I would call this is your after the meal. This is your sit down on the couch, undo the belt buckle beer.
Relax, sip it. Right. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have something that looks very similar to the last one.
Very similar. Right. Also with the cherry theme. This is called Delirium Red. There's a few beers in the Delirium series. The Delirium Red is going to be cherries and elderberries. Delirium Nocturnum is going to be like your standard Belgian Double. And then Delirium Tremens is going to be their golden ale. So a little bit more like a pale ale kind of.
I've only had one. It was about 20 years ago. South Street, Philly, somewhere, one of those bars. You know, it was the pink elephant. I was like, the pink elephant. I have to try the pink elephant beer. And I think that's what I called it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't like it. But that was also 20 years ago.
I've never tried it before.
So, win me back, Delirium.
Yep. As I poured it, there was initially a nice head that came on it. After a good 30 seconds, it definitely did fall The head did fall a little.
Now the nose isn't as strong as the last one.
Not as strong. Definitely more of an alcohol note. Notes of cherries and dark fruit.
Yeah, there's less cherry than the last one, which is nice.
Far less cherry.
The last one was almost overbearing with the cherry to me.
Yeah, this is more balanced.
You won me back. This is good.
Yeah, this is a nice, classy beer.
Now, as far as like how big these beers are, this is 8% alcohol.
Right.
So this is not a small beer.
Now, all of these Belgian beers are going to be north of 8%.
So sip them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think we would also call this one an after dinner beer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now in front of us we have Chimay. We have 3 types of Chimay.
Right. And we're starting to get into literally some of the best beers in the world. These are official Trappist beers.
Great.
And you know when it's Trappist, there's a little Trappist logo on the back that all 11 breweries share.
So when you see that seal, you know a Trappist monk has been involved in the brewing process somewhere.
A little bit bitter.
Yeah. It's like a nutty flavor to it too. Not what I was expecting.
Not what I was expecting at all. This doesn't taste like any other Belgian I've ever had. So this is hoppier. This is brighter.
Yeah. It's not too bad. Not too bad. You're winning. See, like I said again, out of my comfort zone here. I don't really drink Belgian beers, but so far so good, man. Yeah.
So far, I mean, I absolutely understand why this beer is as highly rated as it is. But this really falls more into like a regular beer style category. I think.
At least this one does, yeah.
Yeah, it's an ale. It's amber. This wouldn't be the double. This would just be a regular Belgian ale.
Now, like I said, there's a lot of nutty flavor to it, which is nice, and especially on the finish. Next one we have is the one with the red label.
Shimmering Premiere.
Okay.
All right, this one is actually a little bit lower alcohol than the others, so it clocks in at 7%.
Okay, a little bit lower.
But one of the first things that we'll notice on this beer is that it's got a little bit more of a head on it. And that tells you that it's a little bit more carbonated, and it's got a little bit lighter body, a little bit lighter mouthfeel on this. Right off the top, you get a bready vibe to it.
Yeah.
Now I can really start tasting that Belgian yeast. This is, I think, of all the beers, this is the first time where I'm really noticing that banana ester sort of thing that Belgians have.
It's good. I like this one better, actually.
Yeah. Now we're starting to get a little bit spicier. It's more spiced.
And finally, Chimay has their blue label.
Yeah.
I'll just call it the blue label because I'm not sure what they're called.
And this one is probably the most sought after of the Chimay products.
Okay.
And interesting, it originally started out as a Christmas beer.
Okay. So what's the difference between this one, that one?
It's just going to be the amount of ingredients. So this falls under the category of a Belgian Double.
Okay, it's a little bit darker.
A little bit darker, and double is a reference to double the ingredients. So relative to either of these, this one's gonna have twice as much ingredients. And one of the first ways you realize that is how much head there is.
Yeah.
There's gonna be more sugar in this beer. You can tell just by the color and by the head of the beer.
Well, I noticed that the heads on the other ones dissipated a lot faster.
Now we're talking.
Nice. Yeah.
Now we're talking. This is
move over red and white.
Seriously, this is in a category of its own.
Yeah, I like this one the best.
This is an amazing beer.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, I could drink that all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very balanced. Very, very balanced. You're immediately aware it's a Belgian beer. You get all the normal stuff you're going to expect from Belgium. Tiny bit of clove, tiny bit of banana, you can even call it a tiny hint of bubblegum. Yeah. But overall, you're going to get notes of caramel, slight notes of chocolate, and again, that dark fruit, that dark dried fruit kind of a thing. A lot of people will call it like raisins.
It's slight, but it's there.
A little bit more carbonation than the rest of them.
Yeah, it's good though.
There's nobody that's going to say no to this.
Chimay Blue.
Yeah, bring it to dinner.
All three of them were good, but that one by far.
This one stands apart. This one stands apart from the rest.
Love it. Next up, we have the original. Tell me about this.
So this is the original Trappist Ale. This beer goes back to 1836. This is the original Belgian Trappist Ale, West Malt.
Oh wow!
Hazy brown color.
That's smooth. That's good.
Tastes different than it smells.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. But that's a good beer right there. It's nice and smooth, and it's
fruitcake. Reminds me of fruitcake a little bit.
Yes.
Very smooth. You definitely get the alcohol on it. It has an alcohol note to it.
Oh yeah, this is not a little beer.
But this is this is a sharing beer.
Yeah. After dinner beer, right? Next up we have the triple.
Yep.
This is another original.
Right, another original Trappist beer. And this one clocks in at 9.5%.
So now, I want to mention to the audience at home, we're talking about like beers that are ranked like some of the best beers in the world.
Yep, absolutely.
By the beer gurus, Beer Advocate, and other beer websites that will rank them 1 to 100.
Yeah,
these guys are like up there.
The Westmalle Double is like number 2.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's check out this triple here.
So the triple here, surprisingly, pretty light in color. I would have thought it would be a little darker than the double.
Oh yeah, so this is aged a couple years too, 2 years.
You get more of the bread on this one. This one isn't the same as the double. This isn't like just a different version of the double. No. This is an entirely separate beer.
Now the light color to it is deceiving because a lot of people will be like, okay, you got a darker beer,
right? That's
going to be heavier. It's going to be more alcohol than this lighter beer. No. This is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's light in body, it's light in feel. You'd never know this was almost a 10% beer.
So far, so good.
We're trying to pull differences between them. And it's like excellent.
Yeah,
excellent is what you get off of all these beers.
Excellent.
Yeah,
and so far my voyage into the Belgian style, it's been pretty rewarding, and I'll probably be drinking these a lot more because so far so good. The last, I got to talk about like the last time I had a lot of these beers was probably a decade or more ago.
Yeah.
When I found my IPA, I found my love. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stick with what I know. But man, so far so good, man. These are great.
And this is definitely not a far distance from like the Chimay Blue or the Westmalle Double.
Yeah.
It's definitely the same category.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just smoother. It's softer.
I know why it's ranked up there because this is definitely the best beer we had out of all of them so far.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing we have to add before we go is the big bottles of beer, like this here. This is getting harder and harder to find because less and less breweries are making bottles in this size.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a great gift to bring to a party. Like you said, it's like bringing a bottle of wine.
Right.
But if you can't get something like that, you get something like this.
Yeah.
With a really nice Belgian glass.
Yeah. Beautiful Belgian glass.
Perfect.
These are great for gifts. These are great for bringing to a party. It's everything that you need all in one shot.
Welcome back to Wine, Hops, and Road Stops. And right now, we are on location at the beer stop with my good friend Alan. Alan, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's November. We're getting closer to Christmas.
What do we have in front of us?
So, well, we got a couple of little surprises for you over there, but we're actually diving headfirst into Christmas. I just put up all my Christmas decorations at the house.
Already?
Why wait? I'm done with my Christmas shopping. I'm good to go.
Wow!
Yep.
I didn't start my Christmas shopping. I'm just taking down my Halloween decorations. Got to put up some Thanksgiving stuff. I mean,
well, that's what we looked at our Thanksgiving stuff, and we had like this little turkey ceramic, and that was it.
That was it. So you're like,
so we're like, just jump ahead and go right into Christmas.
All right, so we're going to go right to Christmas with some Christmas beers, and we're also going to talk about the difference between freshly hopped beer. I'm seeing that on a lot of labels now. Like it'll say, this is made with fresh hops or wet hops. And
fresh hops, wet hops, dry hops. It's got kind of all a little mash. And then sometimes dried hops can be fresh hops.
What does that mean?
Well, it's all a marketing thing, in my opinion. I mean, there will be differences in taste, and that was one of the surprises that we have. We're going to see, can you tell the difference between a dry hopped and a fresh hopped beer? And sometimes fresh hopped can be with dried hops, which is another just level of confusion.
Fresh hops can be wet hops. Yeah. So, I looked it up and I got some information off the good old internet about what the difference is between wet hop, fresh hop, and dry hop beers. Wet and fresh hop beers are very similar. To be considered a fresh or wet hop beer, beers must be hopped with freshly harvested hops, either wet or dried. If they're wet, it could be considered a wet hop beer. If they're dried, but used within 24 hours of harvesting, they can still be called a fresh hop beer. Now, fresh hops also provide distinctively grassy, plant-like, and green flavor profiles without the bitterness. Now, dry hopping is different. That is a step in the brewing process. Brewers add hops after the boil to give the beer an aromatic and usually stronger hoppy aroma. And I really like dry hop beers.
Yeah.
So you get more of that hop flavor to them.
Yeah, Dogfish 90 is one of the premier dry hop beers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think, again, it's a lot of it probably 20 years ago, nobody would care how it is. It was just an IPA.
Right.
Now, to try and make yourself a little different or sound a little different, you know, we'll call it fresh hops.
Made with fresh hops.
Yes.
Sounds a lot better than
Yes.
just IPA.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, I get it. But before we go into the Christmas beers,
Okay.
let's do a little taste test.
All right.
One of them's fresh.
One of them's fresh and one of them's dry hopped.
Okay.
Now, what I did was I took from the same company, so that way the quality of the beers, you really can't tell. It's Lagunitas. Across the board, they're making really great beers.
Right.
So it's not one beer should be better than another, just based on, you know, the type of beer, or the
Okay.
brand of beer.
Okay,
So they're both IPAs. One's fresh hopped and one is dry hopped. So
Okay.
here's sample A.
Okay, sample A. Sample A has a nice nose to it.
Very citrusy.
I like that one.
I mean, you can almost blindly tell it's a Lagunitas product,
Yeah.
quite frankly. I mean, they have such a, you know, standard
distinct-
flavor.
yeah, they have a distinct
that West
taste.
Coast IPA. And so then here is sample B.
Sample B. That one was really good.
Yeah. A little bit less citrusy.
Sample B's dry hopped.
Sample B is dry hopped, yes. Yeah, you definitely get a little bit, bam, hit at the end with the hops.
You get that dry hop taste
Yeah,
right here on sample B.
yeah.
This one had a juicier.
That one, yeah,
Taste to
juicy. This would definitely qualify as probably one of the juicy. It's a pale, actually it's a Born Yesterday Pale Ale, fresh hopped.
Okay.
So it's not even the IPA.
There's a little bit more of that. I don't want to say there's grass taste to it, but it is kind of
You get that
grassy.
you get that super citrusy
Yeah.
nose as well. I mean, just
Yeah,
the
it's good though. I mean, it's Lagunitas, so I'm not. I can't say anything bad about any
no,
of the beers.
no. And then the other one is the Hop Stupid.
Dry hopped, and it's overly hopped probably, and
Yeah, on the back end, you really just get hops and almost
you
nothing
get that.
else.
Yeah, you get that dry finish that comes with it being dry hopped.
Yeah. Now I wonder, and we'll have to look, you know, for the next time, if I could find a juicy dry hopped, or if all the juicies are always wet hopped because of that extra, you know, citrus tones and grassy tones.
Yeah, how about that? We'll have
So
to check that out
we'll
later
do a
on.
little research and do some drinking in between episodes.
Hey, I'm down with that. So let's move on. What else do we have as far as taste testing today? We're going to get into the Christmas beers because you're in the big Christmas spirit apparently.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, Christmas
All right.
beers. What we
Christmas
got first?
beers, and another movie connection from Evil Genius in Pennsylvania. Santa, I know him from the movie Elf.
Ooh, Santa, I know.
Yeah, you can smell the nutmeg.
Okay, so this is a saison beer.
Okay.
And it has a nice floral taste to it, but also has like some spices in there, and a bunch of different things are making up this beer.
Yeah, it's nice. You get a little clove, nutmeg. It's just, it's Christmas in a glass. And it's nice that it saison, a little bit higher alcohol, able to hold all those flavors. Next, we got the Shinerbach Cheers Holiday. This one does seem to have a little bit more alcohol of a smell.
Oh yeah. I'm getting a little bit of like a fruit aftertaste
Yeah,
to it too.
almost like a cherry.
Yeah, it's nice. The aftertaste, there's a lot of, like you said, cherry to the aftertaste.
Yeah.
That's that may be a little too much for me though. Just maybe like one or two, and then I'd have to kind of move on because of that finish. The finish is pretty strong.
Yeah. All right, the next we have the world famous Mad Elf from Trogs. All right, now we have two Mad Elves here today. One is this year's.
Oh, okay.
And one is 3-year-old Mad Elf
Oh.
that have been aging in our cellar, and now we actually have 2015, 16, and 17 up for sale at the store as well.
So talk a little bit about aging your beers for someone who maybe hasn't been following our show, because we talk about it often,
Yeah.
but you do something which is very commendable, I think. You buy the beer, sometimes even already aged,
Correct.
and then you age it in your cellar.
Yep, I have a nice cellar, so it stays at about, like 50, 55 degrees, winter, summer, spring, and fall. It's below the ground level. And I basically just take any good high quality beers, usually high alcohol or stouts, something that can hold the aging process. And I put them down there for 2, 3, 4 years. you know, and I bring little up by little up, you know, for kind of for sale, and it makes it a lot of fun. The other night we had 7 different years of Mad Elfs down at a private taste testing that we did, and every single one is just slightly different. And then some guys are like, oh, after 3 years, that was the best. And then other guys, no, the 7th year, that was the best. You know, it keeps getting better and better. So,
now, a lot of people are very into this aging beer thing, you know, and it seems to me like a lot of these beers completely change when you age them.
Yes.
Whether it be the Mad Elf or a Dogfish Head Worldwide Stout or you know, something like that. These bigger beers, the whole profile changes, am I right?
Actually, it's almost like a wine, and it changes, the characteristics change. We did in the pumpkin, we did the Pumpkin by Southern Tier. And if you had them left to right and you didn't say it was the same beer, you thought you were drinking 2 completely different beers. So the Mad Elf is not as much as that because it's very honey and cherry, which is very distinctive and very powerful, but it does seem to kind of take the edge off a little bit.
Now this beer's been around for a long time, too.
Yes, it used to be the Holiday Elf, and you could age these beers a long time. I actually, about 2 years ago, had my last Holiday Elf, and that was from like 1997, 98.
Wow. So that predates the Mad Elf by a couple of years.
Yeah, so I mean, this you can really age at least a decade. And again, you're always at 11% alcohol, honey and cherry, and you get a lot of sweetness with it, particularly in the fresh one.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah. And now here's the 3-year-old. You can say just in the aging process, you can smell that liqueur coming through.
Yeah, there's more of a nose to this one than the last one. I mean, the last one has a nice nose to it too.
Yeah.
This one's way more pronounced.
Gone is that sweet honey flavored and the sweet cherry, and you're left with almost I want to say a sherry quality. You know, so it's more getting liquor than it is beer at this point after a couple of years.
Yeah, there's more of an alcohol burn feel to the finish than the other one, and that's because of the aging process.
The aging process, the high alcohol is kind of taking over, and a lot of the honey and cherry stuff is just kind of going away. But you can still taste the cherry.
Oh yeah,
but the honey's almost gone, in my opinion.
That's very subdued compared to the other one.
Yeah,
compared to the first
because this one, I mean, you have this one, it's just sweetness after sweetness.
But the other one has different flavors that take over. As far as aging beers, someone wants to start doing that. What kind of beers would you recommend?
Stick easiest with anything 8 to 9% alcohol and higher. 10, 11% is probably even better. So with that, you're sticking with, like, quite frankly, your Mad Elf, Pumpkin, and then a lot of your stouts.
You know, and you're one of the only places that I know of that does this on a regular basis. You have a nice selection of beers that you age.
Yeah, we constantly have, you know, old beer.
Old beer.
But yeah, we have a section set up for that, and it's something I enjoy and something I like to drink. And a lot of our customers will come in and they're just, you know, right to the age section, and you know, they leave happy and they can't believe that they have 4, 5, 6-year-old beer, and it's fantastic because I take care of it.
It makes a great gift come this holiday season.
Yeah, sure.
You know, someone you know that's a beer lover.
Something a little different.
Yeah, get them an aged beer.
Yeah, how many times are you going to be able to go to some place that have 3, 4-year-old beers?
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about some weird things going on in the beer industry as the beer industry collides with the video game industry. Coming up next on Wine, Hops, and Road Stops. Don't go away. Welcome back to Wine, Hops, and Road Stops. I'm back at the beer stop in West Hazelton with my good friend Alan, and we're talking beer. We're also going to talk video games right now. Apparently, Miller Coors decided to make a video game controller out of a beer can. Now, I could get behind that because I'm a classic video game lover, and apparently on the break, Alan told me he was too.
Yeah, I'm an old school video game. If it's before 1989, I'm in.
There was nothing like going to Aladdin's Castle.
Oh, Aladdin's Castle.
Boardwalk Boulevard back in the day. Of all companies, Miller Coors has dipped its toe into the video gaming world. At this past summer's E3 2019 convention, they introduced the Can-Troller. It's a full can of Miller Lite that you can drink if you want, or pour it out. That's also a Bluetooth gamepad. I'm 45 and I love video games, and I don't care. And I would use this. I would buy this, and I would use this if it becomes available. I definitely will. I'll play Fallout on it till the cows come home.
It's a great gimmick. There's
Yeah.
no question about it.
Another
No
good
question
gift.
about
If it
yes.
comes out by Christmas time, another good gift for the beer lover and video game lover, man-child, if you will, in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk about viewer questions? We've got some viewer questions
Sure.
coming in. Okay, we had a viewer question last week talking about triples. Does a triple mean it's 3 times as strong as a normal beer?
Well, basically, your old Belgian styles, your old world styles were kind of single, doubles, and triples. And so your single, if you think of that as like a Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud, they're about in the 4 to 5% range. So let's say 4%. Your doubles are in the 8, 9%. That's double. 4 times 2 is 8. And then your triples are usually in that 10 to 12 range, and 4 times 3 is 12. So yeah, triples really are triple strength.
Back in the medieval times, barrels of triple were marked XXX. The X signified the strength of the beer back when it was mainly monks that were making the beer. Now what confuses people is doubles are usually darker than triples. Now triples are much lighter in color, but they're higher in alcohol. They're like 8% and above. Well, that's all we have today on Wine Hops and Road Stops. Our show is done. If you want to check us out, facebook.com/Wine Hops and Road Stops is the best way to check us out. Message us on Facebook. Let us know what do you want us to talk about. Remember, life is too short to have bad beer, so have a good beer, and we will see you next time on Wine Hops and Road Stops. All right.
Yeah, that egg stuff is good.
Here we go.
I do like that. But I must say, I do like the fresh hops better as well. But then again, you're more a hop head.